People always ask me, and I have a lot of people who come to me and they want to have conversations about whether they should start their own practice, whether they should go and work for a law firm first. And I am not the girl that you need to call or send a message to if you are looking for somebody to discourage you, because the reality is I believe that if you have passion, if you are a good person, if you are trying to do good work, if you are a hustler, if you can get things done, if you are confident, if you are diligent, and if you are willing to learn and become the expert at whatever it is that you want to do, that you can build whatever it is that you want to build. And so one of the reasons that I decided to start my own law firm is because while I was in law school, I was working for a law firm. I know a lot of people don't work when they're in law school, but I had to, right? So I had a job while I was in law school, and I was working at this firm, and it was a great firm in the sense that the attorney that I was working for was a certified family law specialist. He was very good at what he does. He had been doing law and was a specialist in this particular area of law for decades. He was much older than I was at the time. Everybody knew him in the community. Everybody knew him in the court. And when I was working for him, I started off as his legal assistant, and then I gradually just started evolving into different roles. So I went from just being his legal assistant to being his paralegal, and then I helped with some of his bookkeeping stuff, and then I helped with going to court with him and assisting him in court. And there were just so many different aspects of the business itself that I was able to learn while I was working there. But one thing that stood out for me the most, and even though I think I've always known that I was going to work for myself at some point and in some capacity, the thing that really took it over for me was the day that I first started doing some of the billing, and I had to input the time that I'd spent on various tasks. If anyone's familiar with the law firms bill hourly for work that they do. A lot of them do, right? So they bill hourly. Your paralegals bill hourly. Your legal assistants do. Anyone that's working in the firm will bill hourly. So I had to keep track of the amount of hours that I was putting in on each case. And so I remember I would put in my time entries for the stuff that I was doing. And the rate that I was getting paid, I don't know, it was probably like $13 an hour, I think. Something like that. I was getting paid about $13 an hour. It might even been less than that, too. Real talk. It might have been $11 an hour, but whatever. Let's just say 13 for the sake of clarity. So I'm getting paid $13 an hour, and then I'm looking at these client invoices and the billing entries on the client invoices for the hours of work that I put in, and it says paralegal work, whatever. These clients were being billed $198 per hour for the work that I was doing. Now, I was doing good work. I'm not going to say that the work wasn't worth the $198 worth of work, because anything that I touch, I'm going to do it diligently. That's just the way that I do it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, right? It was worth $198. I'd say that. But your girl was getting paid $11 or $13. And it was that moment that I decided, ain't no way I am working and doing all of this stuff. I was handling a lot of the writing, the research, that. So the attorneys, and I know attorneys need a support team. I have one myself, right? But I wanted to be a lawyer. I was working, I was learning all these things, but I'm getting paid $11 to $13 an hour to do the work that this attorney was getting paid almost $200 an hour. And that was wild to me. And so it was that moment that I decided that for certain, I was definitely also going to be working for myself when I opened my own practice, because ain't no way. And even the associate attorneys that were working there, I had to help put in their billing too, right? So these associates, I know what their salaries were because I helped him get this stuff together for the bookkeeper to issue the checks, right? I know all of the ins and outs of this business, and the associates were getting paid a fraction of what they were billing, or what was being billed for their rate. And I know that is industry standard. It is industry standard that an attorney will bill a rate and pay the employees a different rate than what they're billing. I get all of that. But for me, and so that's reason number one. The second reason that I would say I decided that I was going to open my own law practice is that when I was in law school, most of you probably know this story, I was pregnant, or I got pregnant twice. So I was going to have young children. By the time I finished law school, graduated, took the bar, when I passed, I was going to have children, right? And my mom was very present. Even though she worked a full-time job, she was at all of my athletic events. She supported all of my academic events. She was just there. I remember her being there. And I was a student athlete. And one of the things that has stuck with me from my childhood was when I was competing, I remember the feeling that I felt when I was able to look in the stands and see my mom there. And I know that there were a lot of kids whose parents couldn't be there because their schedules didn't allow or for what other reasons. But I just remember always having that feeling and seeing my mom and my brothers right there supporting me. And I wanted to be able to give that to my kids. And I know what lawyers' schedules look like, right? And so at that time when I was in school, once I had my daughter, I had already decided that I couldn't be in a position where I had to ask for time off in order to go and participate in whatever activity she was going to be participating in. The same thing also goes for the freedom that came when it comes to scheduling vacations and things, because I remember having to put in requests to be able to take time off for my job, right? I did not want that to be a barrier for me either, because my family lives on the East Coast and the South, right? I'm from Florida. I live in California, and I visited my family frequently, multiple times a year. And I never wanted it to be a situation like it was on a temporary basis when I was still in law school, when I had this job, right? If I wanted to take time off, I had to put in a request and my employer had to approve it. So thankfully, he was cool and he was open to it, and he'd give me 2, 3, 4 weeks off in the summer so that I could go and be with my family. But I already knew that the culture of law firms was not necessarily going to allow that, and that was not something that was negotiable for me. And so I knew that if I wanted to be able to live the lifestyle that I wanted, which wasn't necessarily financially centered, but more so lifestyle, freedom, and time centered, I had to work for myself, because I can't think of any place. Now things are different, right? Because we have remote work and all of that. But back then there was no such thing. You were not lawyering from your living room. It just wasn't a thing back then. And so I knew that I needed to create a space and a way for me to be able to work for myself so that I could take off when I want for whatever I want without having to ask somebody to do it. And so that would be the second reason. Another reason why I decided to open my own law firm is because I want to be able to work with who I want to work with. And I want to be able to take the types of cases that I want to take. And I know, because again, I worked at a law firm, that when you are working for someone, they're going to hand you the cases, right? They're going to assign you the cases. They're not going to ask you, well, sometimes they might. But especially when you're first starting out, they're not going to say, would you like this case? Are you interested in this case? No. Here's your caseload. This is what you got to work with. These are the people you got to work with. You got to be nice to these people. You got to communicate with these people. It doesn't matter what kind of people these are. It doesn't matter if they're raggedy to you. You can't fire them. You just got to do the work. And for me, being able to choose was really, really important. It was really important because I'm in an industry where the work that we do is actually very, very meaningful, right? And can have a substantial impact on so many things, so many lives. And I don't ever want to be put in a position where I'm having to advocate for someone that I know is not a good person, or where I have to advocate for someone for something that I don't believe in or that I can't get behind 100%, because at the end of the day, I am a human and I'm not a robot. And I can't, for example, know that someone is lying and is just trying to take custody, for example, of a kid for no reason other than they just don't like the other parent, and have to get behind that and make this argument for that and have no way out. That is not the type of life that I want to live, and that's not the type of work that I want to do, and that is not the type of work that I spent all this time going to law school for, studying for this bar exam, taking it a gazillion times. I didn't do all of that to then in turn have to do work that was not in alignment with who I am or what I believe in or what I can get behind. And so for me, it is really important to be able to have the ability to decline cases. I probably decline more cases than most people because if I'm not in it, like all the way in it, if I can't fully commit to it, then I'm not going to take it because I feel like I'm doing a disservice. And so for me, it never has been 100% about the money. And for me, I have this very, very strong feeling and pull and believe that all money is not good money. And when I first set out to do this thing, I already had in my mind, and I said, I don't care if I have to be, I used to say, I don't care if I got to be the brokest lawyer that ever existed. If I still can make my own schedule, take off and make sure that I'm there to be with my children, be able to take vacations with my husband or go and spend time with my family who's across the country, be able to spend a month in Florida to visit my family over the holidays without having to ask for permission. I can choose the clients I work with, choose the types of cases I want to take, and just full blown just be able to operate and move in a way that's in alignment with who I am, then I'm good with that. And so in the beginning, I probably was the brokest lawyer. If we keeping it all the way real, I was probably the brokest lawyer when I first started out because I was new. I didn't know nobody. I had to hustle to try to get clients and all of that. And that's cool because the process for me, I've never had to miss anything, not anything substantial. I may have had to miss a game or an event because I had a court hearing that was unavoidable. I do remember I had to miss something that was really important for my son. I don't remember what it was, but it was one event that I really, really wanted to be at, but we had a court hearing, so I had to miss it. But other than that, I've been able to be there. I've been able to see my family. I've been able to travel. I've been able to do what I do and do what I love and work with the people that I love and can really change the trajectory of their situation. And I wouldn't change it. So all of that to say that if you are on a journey where you have spent a lot of time educating yourself, getting your degrees, working on something, and you have this pull to open your own business, whether it's a law firm, whether it's any type of business, and this is something that you really feel passionate about and something that you feel like you really want to do and you'd be committed to doing it, I'm the girl that's always going to tell you to do it. I'm the girl that's going to tell you to bet on yourself, to pursue your dreams, and to not let anybody convince you that you can't do it or that it won't be worth it. Because at the end of the day, especially if you're willing to make the sacrifices, put in all the work, be the brokest, whatever it is that you're striving to be for a little bit, right? So that you can manage your finances, right? You don't want to step into this thing and then find yourself homeless unnecessarily. There's a strategy you can try to employ in order to be able to make this happen. But at the end of the day, if you're willing to do those things so that you can pursue your dreams, I'm the girl that's always going to tell you to go for it. And I'm the girl that's going to tell you that you can do it. And I'm the girl that's going to tell you I believe in you. So now you just got to believe in you. So I don't know who this was for, but if it was for you, comment below. If you have any questions, shoot me your questions in the comments, and I will see you next time.